big news. I'm moving. I wanted to share with you guys because I think a lot of you guys are moving to Korea and maybe you're not particularly fond of school provided housing and you're thinking of going to your own place, or a lot of you live in Korea and you're like, how do I move? I'm here to break it down for you because now that I've gone through this whole experience, I think I like a little bit am more educated on the know-hows of it all. Obviously, you have to decide where you want to move. Step one, if you're moving into Seoul, personally, I think great locations for foreigners are anywhere with access to many subway lines or easily accessible to other subway lines. Hongdae is a really, really popular spot because there's just so much going on and so many amazing places to eat and just like kind of chill out and relax, and lots of like really, really cute cafes. And it's near the university, Hongik University, as well as Ide. So there's a lot of young people. Is that weird to say? Because I'm not in university anymore. Prior to COVID, it was also a really popular place at night, and there's also a lot of bars and stuff around here as well. So your social life will be pretty sad. Other places to go would be Gangnam, which is where a lot more businesses are. Also a lot of hagwons, obviously. I personally don't actually care to live in Gangnam because I think their subway lines are not super convenient, because in Gangnam, it's kind of like a more rich area. So the rich people don't need to take the subway. To go from one part of Gangnam to another part of Gangnam is actually like really annoying. So you're better off taking a bus rather than a subway because they don't really connect well together. Also, the subway line, when you go in the station, they're really far from the entrance to the actual train platform. It's really far. But that's maybe something just like, oh, why is it like this? Let me know if you think that as well. Other places to move would be an area called Itaewon, which is where a lot of foreigners are. It's got a lot of more old buildings, so you're gonna have to look really carefully because a lot of them are not very nice. But a lot of foreigners live there. It's got really good restaurants and it's quite affordable. Other areas I would look into are maybe not Hongdae directly, but next to it is Shincheon, which is also a really popular spot with university students. It's really close to Hongdae, so it's got a lot going on, a lot of great restaurants, things like that. Up and coming neighborhoods would be somewhere like Seongsu, where it's more like a hipster, upstart neighborhood. It's also near university there. Those are kind of the main hubs at this point. Obviously, Seoul is a big place, so there's a lot more neighborhoods, but I just want to give you like the general demographic. Prior to moving in Korea, you need to know a few things. You need to know the terms chonse and walse. So in Korea, you have to pay a big deposit prior to moving into your apartment to secure your contract. Think of it like a huge housing deposit. A chonse is a pretty big. It's usually one that people get from the bank. The average foreigner person is not going to have access to chonse, so we're gonna focus on what you're probably going to end up paying, which is walse, which is actually what I'm going to be paying for my new apartment as well. A typical walse is from like $10,000. You can get ones for less, but generally the average is like you should have 10,000 saved, and that is basically your housing deposit, which you will get back at the end of your contract as long as you don't damage too much in the apartment. You will get that fully returned back to you. Typically how it works is that if you have more walse, like you have more deposit, you can even negotiate at times rent to be a little bit cheaper. And then on top of that, you have your monthly rent. So depending on where you're going to live, depending on the types of buildings you're going to live in, that's going to be drastically different. There's a few different building types in Korea. There is villas, which are housing units that are broken into different apartments. It's usually not more than a few floors, and it's usually like an older building. Other ones are office tels, which are buildings that can be rented out for both business offices as well as apartments. There's also apartments, which are typically jeonse, which are for families to rent out and have like their life apartment. There's also, if you're really watching the budget and you, oh, I really can't afford anything right now, there's also goshiwons, which are study rooms essentially, and it's basically like a really small one room. And generally a lot of people rent it out because they're just like on a tight budget, they're only in Korea kind of short term, or they're students and they really need to focus on like their civil service exam. So those are also options. Please keep in mind that there's also a lot of times maintenance fees associated with rent. A villa might not even have maintenance fees, versus office tel, a maintenance fee is probably like an extra 100. That is non-negotiable. That is your maintenance fee. And then on top of that, you're gonna have utility bills, internet bills. So you're gonna wanna make sure to check for all of that when you're looking for an apartment. Not every apartment comes with what we call options in Korea. So options are refrigerator, aircon, TV, microwave, stove, optional things that your apartment may or may not come with. So you're gonna wanna think about that as well. I'm only gonna live in Korea a year. Do I really wanna move in somewhere where I have to buy a refrigerator? When you're looking for an apartment, you're going to want to look at a few apps. There is Jikbang, which I am personally a big fan of. There's also Naver Budongsang, which I'm also a fan of, and Peter Pan, which I have also used. I used all three of these when I was looking at potential apartments, and that is because they are different realtors. So one apartment might be on one app, but then it might not be on the other app. So I wanted to make sure I had all my options for the specific area I was looking at. They're all in Korean. To filter them is quite simple, just filtering them based on your budget, and then you can kind of search through what you need. There's buttons to contact through the app, but then the realtor will contact you back and you need to kind of communicate in Korean, or you can send them English and then pop a Korean message as well. So it's usually kind of like the only hurdle for foreigners, or if you have a Korean friend who can help you out, that's kind of icing on the cake right there. And then also to know, obviously you're looking through a realtor, so at the end of it you're going to have to pay a realtor fee before you move into your apartment, and that's usually depending on how much your rent and your deposit of your house are. The realtor calculates their fee based on the percentage of that amount. So it's not like they're taking it out of your deposit and monthly rent. You actually have to calculate that into your budget for when you're moving. Oh, and then once you figure all that stuff out, you're going to go to the realtor again. You're gonna meet with your landlord. You're both gonna sign the contract, go through all of that. Please make sure you understand the contract in full. The realtor will say, oh, you can have pets, but then later the landlord is like, no, you can't have pets, get out. So you have to make sure all of that is like really clear and finalized in your contract, and read through clearly before you sign anything. So you've signed the contract, you're ready to go. How do you get from A to B? So if you're moving within Korea, I suggest an app called GoGoX. You can rent a truck and a mover. You get like some options to choose from depending on what size vehicle you need, if you need them to move up flights of stairs, things like that. So it's a great app because it's quite easy to navigate, and it's also quite affordable. So you're not gonna get conned into like a ridiculous price because you're a foreigner, and it's just easier that way. Also, like maybe you want to get your apartment cleaned or something needs to be fixed right before you moved in. There's an app called Sumgo, which you can use to find a professional cleaner, professional repairman. You can put in your request, and then a bunch of companies will show up, and you can kind of filter through and see which one you like best. Okay, you're moved in, but it's missing a bunch of things. You still need to get a bunch of stuff going to really make it feel like your own. There's a few apps to use here if you need furnishings, if you need decorations, if you need, spruce it up a little bit, make it feel like this place is yours. Obviously, Coupang is great. Coupang is the Amazon of Korea. It's super handy, gets you what you need. Though if you need more big furniture, bed, wardrobe, things like that, there is IKEA in Korea, so you can either go to the physical IKEA or you can look online. I also personally like to use, there's an app called like My House, and it's kind of been my go-to for buying all my big things. So I needed to buy a bed frame, dresser, and for those I find the better price points to be on that website versus buying it on Coupang. You have to note that even on Coupang or this app, there's going to be a 배송비, which is like a shipping fee, and that needs to be paid in cash when the deliverer arrives at your house with your item. That's because a lot of places that sell big furniture, they use a third-party sender, so you're gonna accumulate that fee as well. So that's like something to watch out for. Other than those two apps, say like maybe you're kind of on a budget, a really great app that everyone in Korea has been using is called 당근. It translates to carrot, so it's the carrot app, and it's basically where people go to sell their items secondhand, so you can pick up things quite inexpensively. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about moving and stuff. I know it can be like a little bit complicated at times. I'm also not super good at it. I had to ask a lot of people as well because, again, it was my first time signing my own contract and things like that, so it was definitely an experience for me as well. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!